Hello, I'm Teacher Julie. Are you ready for our class today? Great! Our topic is using conditionals in expressing arguments. This lesson focuses on forms and use of conditionals. Conditionals are used in expressing stand or arguments which may be helpful in persuading others to move or act and even change their thoughts. But what are conditionals? Let's find out. Conditionals are statements expressing the result of a particular condition. It has a main clause and a dependent clause. The main clause explains the results, while the dependent clause presents the condition. Let's take a look at this example. If you don't study well, you'll fail the test. Which of them is the main clause and which is the dependent clause? If you answered, you'll fail the test is the main clause, and if you don't study well is the dependent clause, then you are right. Because of the word if, it becomes an if clause, which cannot stand alone. And as we said earlier, a dependent clause shows the condition, while the main clause shows the result. If you don't study well, the result is you'll fail the test, right? Next example. God listens when you pray. Which of them is the main clause and which is the dependent clause? If you said that God listens is the main clause and when you pray is the dependent clause, then you're correct. When you pray is a when clause, and as we say, dependent clause is the condition, while the main clause is the result. When you pray, the result is God listens. Another thing is conditionals may appear in both affirmative and negative structures. Affirmative means positive or favorable, while negative means bad or harmful. Let us see some examples. If you don't study well, you'll fail the test. God listens when you pray. Which of them is affirmative and which is negative? If you answered, God listens when you pray is affirmative, and if you don't study well, you'll fail the test is negative, great! If the main clause appears before conditional, the meaning of the sentence remains the same. For example, God listens when you pray is the same as when you pray, God listens. The meaning remains the same. Next, if you don't study well, you'll fail the test. It's the same as you'll fail the test if you don't study well. Right? They just have the same meaning. This time, we are going to talk about the four conditionals. The zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, and third conditional. Let's start with the zero conditional. Zero conditional pertains to habits or general truths. It talks about things that are always true, like a scientific fact. For example, I get tired if I work too much. It is true, right? Another one, if you freeze water, it turns into ice. That really happens. And this is how we write a sentence with zero conditional. We must take note that the verb in the dependent clause or if or when clause should be in present simple. And the verb in the main clause is in present simple too. That's why we used plays and freezes as verbs because they're both in present simple. And this is in zero conditional because it is always true that if you place it in the fridge, the water freezes. Next example. The road closes if it is already curfew time. Closes is in present simple and is in present simple too. Because this sentence is in zero conditional, since it really happens that when it's already curfew time, the road closes. Next is the first conditional. It pertains to things that are possibly or likely to happen in the future. It talks about possibilities in the present and in the future. An example, if it rains, I will stay at home. The condition is, if there is a possibility to rain in the future, then the result is, I will stay at home if it only rains. Another example is, if I wake up late, I will miss the bus. It means that if I wake up late, there is a possibility that I will miss the bus. Did you get it? Now this is how we write the sentence in first conditional. Its dependent clause has the present simple verb, while the main clause uses will or won't plus base form of the verb. For example, if you don't pass the test, I'll hire a tutor for you. In the dependent clause, we use don't pass because it should be in present simple. While for the main clause, we use will hire because we need to use will or won't plus the base form, which is, in this case, hire. Next, I'll get my car to fetch you when I am done with this. If you would notice, we use will get for the main clause and I'm done for the dependent clause. That's it. Let's keep moving. Second conditional. These are things that are impossible in the present and are unlikely to occur in the future. In short, these are imaginary situations in the present and future. For instance, if I were you, I would quit smoking. It is impossible that I become you or you become me. So this situation is imaginary only. Next example. If I were the president, I would lower taxes. Since I am not the president, this is only imaginary. To help you understand it better, let's talk about how we use it in sentences. The verb that we should use in the dependent clause should be in past simple. Or if it's in verb be, we should use where, regardless if it's in singular or plural form. On the other hand, we should use would plus base form for the main clause. Let's see this example. If I were a boy, I would do everything to please my girl. In this sentence, we know that the speaker is not a boy because she uses where, which is in past simple, and would do, which is in would plus base form. Another one is, I would buy a new phone if I received a lot of money. In this case, I am only imagining that I have a lot of money. And if I had a lot of money, I would buy a new phone. That's what I wanted to do. That's why I use would buy for the main clause and received for the dependent clause because I need to use the past simple. It's easy, right? The last one is the third conditional. It involves things or change in past scenario yielding to different results. Or these are imaginary situations in the past. Here is an example. If I had got a gold medal, I would have been happy. What I mean in this sentence is that I did not get any gold medal. But if I did, this is what I would have felt. It's imaginary because it did not happen in the past. Is it clear? Now let's see how we should write it in a sentence. For the dependent clause, we use the past perfect, while for the main clause, we use would or wouldn't plus have plus past participle. Antonio would have been an engineer if he had finished his studies. We use had finished for the dependent clause because we need to use the past perfect. While for the main clause, we use would have been because the format is would plus have plus past participle. Second, if they had only arrived on time, they would have not missed the flight. We use the past perfect form had arrived in the dependent clause and would have not missed in the main clause because it should be written as wouldn't plus have plus past participle. Now we're done with the 4 conditionals. Let's move on to our first activity. For level 1, you need to choose the correct verbs to be used in the sentences. I know you can do that. Let's start with number 1. I'll send the report to my supervisor when I blank the notice. Which is the correct verb? Is it A, B, or C? The correct answer is A, receive, because this statement shows possibility in the future. Number 2, if I blank Clint, I would go back to my parents and ask for their forgiveness. What is the correct verb? Is it A, B, or C? Yes, it's C. Where? Because it shows imaginary situation in the present. Number 3. If you heat water at 100 degrees, it blank. Is it A, B, or C? The answer is C, boils, because this statement is always true. Number 4. He would have gone to America if he blanked his long-lost brother yesterday. Is it A, B, or C? Did you answer A, hadn't seen? That's right, because it shows imaginary situation in the past. Next, when I leave my house, I always blank my mom to feed my pet dog. Is it A, B, or C? If your answer is B, ask, then you're correct. Wow! Because this statement shows habit. Did you get a perfect score? Let's go to level 2. In this activity, you are going to identify the correct verbs to be used in the sentences. I will give you 1 minute to read and answer them silently. Oops, time's up. Let's see the answers. Did you get them all right? Great job! Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching!